Welcome to Flip Lesson 99, 6th grade. Today we're basically doing a big review looking at the relationship between fractions, decimals, and percentages. And just understanding how to go from one to the other, flipping back and forth, and just the processes that we need to go through. So we start by looking at, first example is going to be a percentage. How are we going to change this percentage into a fraction and into a decimal? Well, you probably are saying, well, I know percentages are really based off of 100%, and so if I put 90 over 100, I've already developed a fraction. And I can take that fraction 90 over 100 and reduce it, and so in the end I can get a fraction of 9 divided by 10, just like that. Now, this one gets pretty simple, and I can say, okay, 90 100ths. I can very easily just say, okay, 90 100ths. I can write that as a fraction, as a decimal, 90 hundredths. And then I'm going to say, okay, well, I don't really need that zero there. And so very simply, I have very quickly gone from a percentage to a fraction to a decimal using pretty simple steps, all based off of the number 100. Let's try another one. Example number 2 here gives us a fraction to start with. All right. Okay, so how are we going to go about solving this? We could take this 4 over 5 and make it equivalent to something over 100. Right. And that's going to do 5 times 20 and 4 times 20, and we're going to get 80 over 100. And from there, we can very easily turn that into a percentage. The other process, what we can do is we can take this number 4 here, right here, and we can just divide it by 5, right? It's 4 divided by 5. Okay, 5 goes into 4 0 times. Add a decimal, add a 0. Okay, decimal goes straight up. 5 goes into 40 8 times. And just like that, we've looked at 2 different ways to get our decimal. And from here, once we have our decimal, we also learned the trick that if we just multiply by 100, that will get us our percentage. So if we multiply by 100%, and we can either do this number here, or we could go back to the fraction, and we could say 4/5 times 100%. Both of those are going to get us to our percentage. All right. Now, this way, 4 times 100 is going to give us 400 over 5, and 400 divided by 5 is going to give us 80%. Or I can look at here, and I'm going to multiply my decimal of 0.8 times 100. So when I multiply by 100, I'm going to go 1, 2, and that's going to give me, once again, 80%. And so once again, we flipped from one to the other. We started with a fraction, and we ended with our percentage, but we were able to find our decimal through a couple different methods that you've learned throughout the year. All right, how about this last one? We start with a decimal. Let's go to the percentage. All right, the percentage is easy, right? We just say times 100. All right, if we times 100%, we can get that, right? Decimal 1, 2, right? When you multiply by a power of 10, you move to the right, move the decimal to the right. So we go 1, 2, because there's 1, 2 zeros. And so we very quickly have found our percentage of 35%. Okay, well, what about the decimal? Once again, we can go back to what we've learned. We know that this is 35 hundredths. So let's just put that 35 over 100. And now I can start to reduce this fraction by saying, okay, what's a common thing? This ends in a 5, this ends in a 0, so they both, yeah, wasn't that a nice sound? Those are both divisible by 5, so 35 divided by 5 is 7, and 100 divided by 5 is 20, and so my fraction is 7 over 20. And voila! What a wonderful word. Voila! Voila! To add a little accent. We've gone from percentage to decimal to fraction, and in a relatively quick manner. And this is something that you are now capable of doing, following these steps. So here's your sample. It says use this diagram and find the missing values, right? I give you a decimal, a fraction, a percentage, and you're supposed to find what's missing. That's lesson 99.